things are going to start to look very weird or wacky as we, as human beings, move up through the fourth dimensional field. We're embodying fifth dimensional consciousness and beyond, but physically, we're moving up through the fourth dimensional field, and things are going to start to appear really weird. This isn't necessarily an ascension symptom video, but you may be experiencing some of these shifts and some of these changes, and I'm going to approach that from a more of a longer term perspective on what to expect or what to prepare yourself for as we continue to navigate this ascension journey and just accelerate this path as the energy continues to accelerate. And by the way, I know a lot of you have been asking about when is this going to let up. Well, it's really accelerating. You may get some brief breaks here and there for opportunities to really slow it down and ground and anchor. Maybe a few brief periods of quiet in there, but for the most part, we're kind of on this trajectory now. So the energy's coming in, the light is streaming in through our sun into this field, and it is looking to be integrated into your body. So it's going to show you everything really that is anchoring you to a lower frequency timeline, and that's what you need to lead into and feel and release. But as we start to activate more of our DNA or continue to activate more of our DNA, we all talk about ascension symptoms and what are you feeling today and what have you felt yesterday and what may you feel tomorrow and all the phases of the moon and all these astrological events. Well, from a longer term perspective, as we start to lean into and remember what these higher dimensional fields, how they manifest and what the experience is like, it's going to seem very unfamiliar at first. You may start having some glitches, some time glitches, maybe some timeline glitches where you're moving in and out throughout your day of different timelines, and you're actually aware because you've been doing the work and you've been anchoring your consciousness. You're actually aware of the subtle differences and the changes in the realities that you're passing through from moment to moment to moment. Now, just in a new you this morning in my live training, one of the people in the group mentioned that she actually had an experience where it felt like she had gone backwards in time. Maybe it was about an hour or so, and it was reflected in the clock, meaning she looked at the clock, it was actually an hour before where she thought she was in her day. So things like that are starting to happen as we move up into this fourth dimensional field and we clear the lower 4D. As we get out of that fear energy, we start to approach upper fourth dimension, and really the heart chakra starts to open up and get aligned. You're going to start to bring forward through the portal and through your crown opening up all sorts of multidimensional experiences. You're going to start to be able to connect with your guides and your higher self. Your intuition's going to come on stronger. You're going to be moving in and out of timelines, like I said, based on your vibration in the moment, but you're going to have more awareness of where that is. So you're going to start to have more control over what timeline you're really choosing to anchor into your experience, what timeline you're choosing to focus in on throughout your day. That becomes a conscious choice. It's going to no longer be controlled as much by your traumas, by your programming, because you've been just doing such an amazing job clearing and healing all that, right? If that's you, drop a yes in the comments. Let's acknowledge that win there. If you've been doing the breath work, the things I talk about on this channel, the shadow work and getting in and really navigating all of those symptoms, right? And all those old traumas and things. If you've been doing that, drop a yes in the comments. So when multidimensional experiences start to come online, they start to feel really weird, okay? Like spooky almost. I know Einstein used that term spooky when he's talking about quantum physics. And we're starting to experience things that seem maybe a little spooky, or they seem, maybe they bring up a little bit of fear. There's glitches. Maybe you start seeing things out of the corner of your eyes. Maybe you're being visited. Maybe your guides are coming forward, right? They can seem a little bit spooky at first. And if that's the case for you, that's something you need to work through. You need to feel that fear and allow yourself to clear that. So these quantum connections, these connections with your guides start to come forward in a more pure way, a less filtered way, a more whole way, right? Meaning they're of the light, and that's how you experience them. But at first, they could seem a little spooky, but certainly things are going to seem a little weird, because when we're moving up through these higher dimensional fields, time and space become less rigid. They become more pliable, meaning that they could be moved and shaped and manipulated easier by your energy and by your thoughts. They respond more to your thinking, so you have the ability to actually start to physically shift your reality. And that's going to mean, again, navigating in and out of different timelines. Maybe you're going to see items jump from one place of the house to the other. You'll put something down here, you'll realize that it appeared over there. All sorts of different things going on, and they do seem weird because our brain sees it as uncomfortable, because it really has a hard time making these experiences seem continuous. There's like a lack of continuity to it. It's almost like jumping around, and our brain can't stitch it all together in a way that makes logical sense. So that may cause you to feel like you're scratching your head, like maybe there's something wrong with you, or you don't know what's going on. Am I sick? Is there something happening, right? That is just leaning into that quantum field and actually manifesting different versions of reality on the fly. Okay, so these things seem a little bit weird, but there's going to be oddly an interesting familiarity to it once you start to realize that this is because you are expanding, your consciousness is expanding, you're starting to perceive other realities, you're going to start to regain that feeling of trust and that feeling of familiarity. Like, somewhere along the line, I've been through this before, or I know these experiences, I know this weirdness, right? And I'm only calling it weird because that's the 3D me that really can't explain it. But inherently, and intuitively, that as we move into the quantum field, we're less particle, we become more energy, right? We're detaching from the physical, becoming more energetic, that things are more pliable, and there's going to be an innate familiarity to that. You're going to just feel it. You'll be like, yeah, now that I'm here, it feels familiar, like I've been here before, right? Before you're there, or as you're starting to enter these multidimensional experiences, your brain's going to say, no, this is too weird, right? But once you're there, it's going to be like, yeah, okay, I remember that. And that's because all of that remembrance and that knowing comes along with the experiences. So like you shift and become a different person on the fly in the moment. That's why it's so important throughout your day as you start to accept and allow whatever it is that's coming at you. You may start hearing things telepathically, clairaudient. You may start seeing things. You may start knowing things, right? This kind of stuff is going to start happening to you, and it's important that you don't allow your ego to grab the reins or grab the wheel and try to dive in and figure it all out and compress these experiences down into the known. You want to leave them out here in the expansiveness, in the unknown, because as you learn to trust and bring it back in and breathe with it and feel whatever it is that's coming up, this expansive energy will integrate into your physical vessel, and that information and that reality that energy contains will become available to you in your experience. And all of the knowledge embedded in that will become known as well. So it's important to be in this state of allowing and know that things are going to look a little wacky, right? When we start experiencing timeline shifts and we're aware of them, because remember, you're constantly moving in and out of different timelines throughout your day based on your vibration, but you may not be aware of it because it's being controlled subconsciously, right? But once you start to realize that how I feel now, and I could shift how I feel, I could change that, I could elevate, raise my vibration, elevate into higher frequency realities, then I'm in control of what timeline I am experiencing in this moment. And everything starts to feel a little bit more natural. It doesn't seem so weird anymore because you're less tethered to the 3D and you're more leaning into this spaciousness, like time, where time and space is very pliable. There's still a physicality to it, obviously, but time and space becomes a little bit more pliable. The more consciousness that you anchor, the more gravity you create, the more gravity you have within your body, right? This just amazing force created by consciousness, the more of an effect that has on the time and space around you. So you're going to start to experience reality in weird ways. but just know that the weirdness is part of the expansion. Get used to it, get comfortable with it. That's what you previously knew as normal. You're just returning to it. You've been out of it for a while, and now it's coming back. You're going to reacclimate to it. You're going to open up and not worry about having to, with your logical mind, make sense of everything that's happening. I get messages that come in, I get images that come in, and I have learned to not allow my mind to go in and try to figure it all out, because oftentimes more of that comes later, right? And then it becomes clearer. I just trust in the information that I'm getting when I get it, and I'm good with that. I kind of just leave it right there. And if there's more to come for me, I'm open to receiving it. I don't try to mold it or create any expectations around it or assign any story or meaning to it, okay? Because the messages, if they're for you, let them land. They'll sort themselves out, and you'll understand at some point when you're ready to what that means, if there's a significant meaning to it. Oftentimes, these messages are just winks from the universe, winks from your guides, winks from deceased loved ones, just letting you know that you are being fully supported, okay? And that's so important to just trust in that and just anchor it in, get centered, get into your heart space, feel that love and compassion for yourself, know that you're doing the best that you can, and work to keep your vibration at a rate that keeps you aligned with higher frequency realities, higher frequency timelines. If you're really struggling to get out of your own way, I would recommend that you sign up for my free masterclass to ignite your spirit and really discover your soul's purpose without all that woo-woo, without all that crazy stuff. I left a link in the description, and I hope to see you there.